All week, my wife Blair has been preoccupied with discussions about the company banquet. It was essential that I attend, she said, as it was an opportunity for me to meet the people she's working alongside in this business endeavor. To me, it seemed like a positive development previously. She had kept her work life separate from me. However, on arrival at the restaurant, I found the room already bustling with conversation and clinking glasses. In the crowd, I spotted Blair, but her expression was not one of joy. Instead, there was a hint of irritation in her eyes, as if my uninvited presence was spoiling things for her. Standing next to her was a young, well-groomed man, impeccably dressed in an expensive suit that seemed tailored to him. His proximity to my wife suggested familiarity beyond that of a typical coworker, the sort of confidence men exude when they believe they control the room's atmosphere. Blair swiftly approached me, pulling this man along. In the blink of an eye, she silenced my words and exclaimed with enthusiasm, "Permit me to introduce Miles, my assistant. He handles tasks you'd find impossible." She spoke as if it were a harmless jest, flashing a light smile. Miles merely smirked, seemingly finding me amusing. For the remainder of the night, I stood in the shadows sipping white wine. Blair conversed with the executives and frequently slipped away with Miles to attend to some pressing matter. In the car on our way home, I remained silent. Blair picked up on my somber mood and scoffed contemptuously. "Oh, please don't feign offense. You stood there like a statue." On that particular night, I felt an unsettling gap emerge between us. Initially, I justified this distance by attributing it to her being in a bad mood. However, the following day, Blair offered a different explanation for my suspicions. During lunchtime, I found myself driving near her office. I was picking up takeout. En route, I chose to drop by and gift her a box of her beloved pastries from the bakery. I ascended to her floor where there was no one at the reception desk. Likely the receptionist had gone on break. Approaching Blair's office, I opened the door to find Miles slouched in his chair, idly flipping through a magazine. Blair was seated opposite him, chatting with coffee in hand, her expression cheerful. Upon noticing me, Miles merely glanced up lethargically and turned the page. Blair momentarily froze, her smile vanished instantly, replaced by an irritation I recognized. In the past, my surprise visits were met with a warm smile from Blair, followed by us heading to the coffee shop on the second floor. Instead, she questioned me dryly, "Why didn't you call?" I wordlessly walked to the desk and placed the box in front of her. "I brought your favorite pastries," I stated. Miles subtly lifted one corner of his mouth, hinting at either disdain or quiet derision. "Thank you," she gestured towards the entrance, implying to leave the item there. "I'm currently unavailable. I have a meeting in 10 minutes. She glanced at her watch conspicuously, suggesting it was time for me to depart. I exited the office without uttering a word. A sense of unease resurfaced, as if something wasn't right. Upon reaching home, I immediately logged onto my computer. My curiosity piqued. I wanted to learn more about Miles. Navigating to the company website, I soon opened their social media page. Among the latest posts, I swiftly discovered images from the banquet. In these pictures, Miles was frequently next to Blair. There wasn't anything overt, but they seemed to share the same frame a bit too consistently. Just as I was about to close the tab, a comment beneath one of the photos caught my eye. "Blair's favorite is once again in the spotlight." I furrowed my brow. Beneath it lay another comment. A few individuals at this firm seemed to be promoted excessively quickly. 2 messages appeared innocent, but for some reason I felt compelled to determine who authored them. Examining their profiles, both women were colleagues of Blair's. Leaning back in my chair, I contemplated the situation. Perhaps it was merely office gossip, but often such envy isn't unfounded. Then on Miles' personal page, I noticed a recent photo featuring a new car. The caption read, "New phase, new objectives." "Thank you to my exceptional boss for the encouragement and faith." This prompted me to smirk. Miles had only been with the company for under a year, yet he spoke of Blair as if she had transformed his life entirely. Perhaps I was reading too much into things. However, for an ordinary assistant and their superior, there seemed an unusual amount of personal camaraderie between them. From an anonymous account, I sent a message to one of the women inquiring about Miles and his close relationship with Blair. He is her new assistant, and it took approximately 10 minutes for a response. He joined us 6 months prior as an intern, but now effectively manages the department. I hesitated slightly before typing the next query. Are they promoting him? To put it simply, their professional relationship extends beyond the office. They often depart for late-night client meetings and were recently spotted at the Greenwood Hotel, a hotel situated outside the city last week. His career advancement is clearly not without cause, and we all have our suspicions. I fixed my gaze on the screen, unable to budge. Yes, you're aware Blair is married, I wrote. The answer arrived almost instantaneously. I understand, but it seems that fact does not deter her. Miles has now become a powerful figure within this organization. The image of his self-assured demeanor at the banquet resurfaced in my mind. He sat comfortably at my wife's desk, as if he belonged there. The most disconcerting aspect was that my wife didn't even attempt to conceal her involvement from her colleagues. That evening at the banquet, they gazed at me as if I were a naive individual blindly accepting her tales of overtime work hours. Slipping my phone back into my pocket, I felt a burning sensation within. The ensuing days transformed into a living nightmare. I feigned ignorance, all the while searching for ways to unmask them. I didn't require internet gossip. I required concrete evidence, the sort she couldn't refute. The opportunity arrived on Friday, as Blair seemed preoccupied around the house in the morning, meticulously selecting a dress. "Clark, I'll be late tonight," she said, applying perfume. "We have a dinner with an influential, demanding client." I looked at her and simply nodded. "Indeed, dear, work is crucial." As soon as the door shut behind her, I retrieved my phone to contact a private investigator, a recommendation from a lawyer I knew. I provided him with details of Blair's vehicle and instructed him to monitor her movements. The first alert arrived that same evening. My spouse arrived at the restaurant, accompanied by a young male companion. They seated themselves at a secluded table bathed in dim light. A photo was sent to me, which I scrutinized closely and identified him as Miles. Hours later, more images were received showing Blair and Miles no longer attempting to conceal their relationship. They were holding hands, whispering sweet nothings and laughing. The most intriguing development occurred around 11 in the evening when the investigator reported, "They entered the Greenwood Hotel." My heart raced. This was the same lodging her colleague had mentioned earlier. Without hesitation, I swiftly gathered my car keys and made the journey to the stated address. Every fiber within me was tense with icy fury. However, I struggled to maintain composure. The commute to the hotel, located on the outskirts of the city, took approximately 30 minutes and felt like an eternity. Upon arrival at the Greenwood parking lot, the investigator was waiting for me. He informed me they were in room 204. Ascending to the second floor, I found the hallway deserted. The investigator had provided the room number. Footsteps vanishing into the plush rug. I halted before door 204 and rapped. A voice from within echoed, "Who is it?" It was Miles. I remained silent, rapping again. After a brief pause, the latch clicked. The door creaked open. Miles, in a bathrobe, unkempt hair, and an expression of irritation, appeared. Yet when he spotted me brandishing my phone, his countenance paled. "Greetings, Miles. Am I disturbing?" I queried. Blair emerged from the chamber, her eyes widening with shock. "Clark, what are you doing here?" I replied. "I'm documenting a report about your business dinner with a client so that you won't feel compelled to tell me it was all fabricated later." I then addressed Miles. "Now I comprehend why they label you as her primary endeavor at the office. Let's see what higher-ups have to say when they discover the truth behind your remarkable achievements." Lowering my phone, I pivoted and strode off along the corridor, leaving them utterly taken aback. Returned along the night highway, my inner chill intensified. The footage on my phone served as irrefutable evidence, yet I comprehended something crucial. Approaching the CEO with it or causing a public spectacle would demean me by succumbing to emotions. Instead, on Monday morning, I sought counsel from an experienced divorce lawyer and shared the recording with him. He scrutinized the video cautiously, then shut his tablet, thoughtfully nodding. "This evidence is more than sufficient," he declared. "Your prenuptial agreement contains a clause. If infidelity is proven, Blair forfeits rights to the country house and most of our joint savings." He hesitated briefly. "First, we'll extend an offer for her to voluntarily sign the agreement. In my experience, once a person realizes all evidence has been gathered, the inclination to dispute usually wanes." For Blair, who had spent her entire life constructing a career and held her management position dearly, a public court case would have been catastrophic. She had invested far too much time to sustain damage from such a scandal. That very day, the lawyer invited her to his office. To my astonishment, Blair wasn't there alone. Miles was by her side. It seemed he still wished to play a role in this narrative and aid her in navigating the predicament with minimal fallout. When the lawyer laid down the agreement and played snippets of a video from the hotel, an oppressive quietness pervaded the office. Blair paled, realizing immediately that she couldn't deny the evident truth any longer. "Given your prenuptial agreement," the lawyer stated coolly, "you know the repercussions." He proposed they resolve this voluntarily and without sensational headlines. Blair stared at the documents in silence. I noticed her hands trembling. Blair comprehended fully the gravity of the situation. Moments later, she reached for the pen, poised to sign. However, at that precise instant, an unexpected event unfolded. Miles' countenance, previously polished and self-assured, contorted with bewilderment and dread. "Blair, cease, you're making a catastrophic error." He spoke rapidly, attempting to restore his confidence in his voice, but the underlying fear was palpable. "This is a bluff. Your husband is deliberately terrifying you so he can seize all assets to the last penny. Don't yield to extortion. We'll secure legal assistance, contest this contract. If you sign it all now, we'll be left with nothing. You'll ruin everything we've been striving for." "Do you grasp this?" Blair gazed at him, perplexed. "Miles, you don't comprehend." Her voice faltered into a tremulous whisper. "If this proceeds to court, my management will discover all the secrets, and if they request records, they'll dismiss me for cause." Miles's statement left Blair taken aback, as if viewing him anew. The phrase uttered hastily seemed to strip away the romantic facade, revealing Miles's true intent. He sought a prosperous, influential partner to solve his problems, not one to share hardships or offer support. With swift and determined strokes, she signed the agreement, relinquishing the country house and savings in his favor, leaving his chair abruptly. Moments prior, he had attempted to project self-assurance, but now all remnants of that confidence and tranquility were absent from his actions. He fidgeted with his jacket before exiting the office without uttering a syllable to Blair. I rose, grabbed my copy of the agreement, and expressed gratitude to the lawyer. As I was about to depart, I paused at the door and fixed my gaze on Blair. "You know, you were correct about one matter," I said composedly. Indeed, he could achieve what I had never been able to accomplish. Stepping outside, I inhaled a deep breath of the chilly air. A gentle wind promptly dispersed the lingering heavy apprehension that had accumulated within me recently. This entire affair had come to an end, and I walked away from it with a clear mind. All ties that bound us for so many years were now history, replaced by legal documents in my possession. That concludes the narrative. What course of action would you have taken in his stead? Share your thoughts below. Subscribe to the channel. Numerous untold narratives lie before us.